The main thing that COVID has done through the lockdowns is it's increased the share of online very considerably. So prior to the pandemic, the UK was sitting around 19% online. But post-pandemic, it's gone as high as over 30%. It's currently around 29%. So that's about 10 years worth of development in just a few short months.
Is it change for the better? And how long will these changes be around for? I mean, in other words, are these short-term or long-term effects?
Well, I think whether you think it's changed for the better depends on who you are. There's been a lot of incumbent retailers who've obviously been very badly affected. And indeed, a number of significant ones like Debenhams and Arcadia have completely gone out of business. I think obviously if you're an online company, then you've benefited. A lot of the online players have seen very, very rapid growth in their business. From a consumer perspective, I think, thank God, we did have online, particularly with regard to grocery. For many people, it was a lifeline. Insofar as online does provide us with perhaps more choice, more convenience, and sometimes lower cost, then it could be said to be a good thing.
Could you argue, Mark, that some of these changes were in fact inevitable and would have been coming in or would have been introduced even without the pandemic?
Yes, indeed. In fact, retail has been going through a pretty serious challenge since about 2015-16, and we have seen quite a considerable number of bankruptcies and store closures even before the pandemic. What's happened is that online has emerged as a highly efficient transactional channel from the point of view of choice, cost, customer database marketing, personalized marketing, and also convenience. And I think that the online players understood that and obviously built their businesses very fast. The incumbent brands and retailers continued to rely too much on the store network, which was declining, and therefore we already saw considerable damage to the retail business. And really, COVID has just kind of put the final touches to that.
What will you think be the physical long-term effects, and visibility as well, to our high streets?
I think that there's been a lot of damage, but now rents are coming down and leases are being made more flexible. The retail property market, the people who own the malls, etc., and high streets have had to change their policies, and that is now becoming more attractive for people to start shops. I think that in the long term, it may well be that we will get a resurgence of the high street as it plays a part within an omnichannel world, providing personal contact for brands directly with their consumers. What we've seen essentially, if you sort of take a step back, is that it used to be that there were very high barriers to entry for starting chains of shops or brands. The internet came along with things like Shopify websites, and it became extremely easy to launch a brand online. And we've seen a huge level of innovation and a real flourishing of online brands with not only lots of new brands, but also lots of new products and new ideas. So that part has really flourished, but it hasn't broken out into the high street because the high street has still been a very expensive place to trade. I actually think that if we move forward with technology, rates changes, rents changes, and leases changes, that a lot of those online innovative brands will break out onto the high street over the next 10 years. And I think we're going to see a lot more innovation, smaller brands, pop-up shops, and it'll become a bit more exciting than it was. Because let's face it, although we mourn for the high street, it was actually a fairly boring place in the last 20 years or so. I think the future of brands, I call them brands now rather than retailers, but brands and retailers, is omnichannel, which is to have a strong online transactional channel, which will carry a lot of the stock and do a lot of the transacting direct to the home or for click and collect in stores. Stores, I think, will shrink and become more compact, and more store space will be used for customer service, high level, more expert customer service, and brand theatre, community building, education, and less just for the pure activity of stockholding, which is what shops used to be largely.
I mean, we've talked about our retail experience, but what about the experience in Europe and around the world? Is what you're saying applicable to those countries too?
Well, it's applicable all around the world. The major differentiator is how far online penetration has gone. So the UK is one of the highest penetrated markets in the world. China is very high. The US is quite high. Northern Europe is higher than Southern Europe. And then as we move outwards from there, places like sort of the Middle East, Africa, parts of South America, the level of online penetration is lower. But we see the same trends applying everywhere. It's just they're coming off different bases.
Mark Pilkington, many thanks for joining us here on The Agenda.
Thank you very much.